OffBeat Sports Podcast presented by Celsius.
It's been a tale of two seasons for the Boston Celtics.
I probably aged about 10 years just from that series.
I'd probably compare myself to just a younger, smarter, more handsome, stronger Michael Jordan.
Let's go Celtics. Go Patriots.
These are guys who, when you give them a bowl of Cheerios in the morning, they finish every last drop of milk.
Absolute clown over here.
I'm ready when you are, baby.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the OffBeat Sports Podcast presented by Celtics. We're back with an episode to preview the Celtics season. We're going to talk about predictions, roster analysis, some outlook on some specific players, coaching, etc. And today we're joined by Ian, who you've most definitely seen on TikTok. He's pretty famous. I mean, some would call him a celebrity. Every time I see him at a Celtics game or even a Patriots game, people are swarming him for pictures. So I mean,
playing last, you're playing fast and loose with the term celebrity there, Cross. I don't know.
I gotta say, at that Patriots game I saw you, we were like having conversations and people were coming up left and right, like, Ian, what's up? We need a picture. And I was like, yeah, me too. I'm on social media as well.
Oh man, that's
OffBeat
so
Sports.
He was even being swarmed at minor league baseball games this fall. Everyone knows him.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we have a fan on the podcast today, Aiden. We saw him at the Woo Sox.
I too watch sports.
Harry's just in North Carolina, so he doesn't get to experience that.
Yeah, I went to the Patriots game versus the Panthers in North Carolina, and J.C. Jackson ran back a pick six for like 65 yards.
Hey,
he ran right past me. I was right in the front row at the goalpost. I'm like, yeah. I mean, he didn't care, but it was still a moment for me.
All right, let's get into some Celtics. I mean, so let's just prediction wise, what are we thinking? Are we thinking like top 3 seed, kind of in the middle of the pack? What are we thinking? Harry, let's start with you.
So if Ben Simmons is actually performing well this year, and Joel and James Harden both like find their groove and start having real good chemistry together, if Donovan Mitchell starts doing some scary things with the Caps, I think we have a lot tougher of a competition this year. I think the East is quickly overtaking the West in terms of just raw talent and strength on teams in numbers. Bucks, I think are going to be the ones to take the 1 seed this year. But with those pre-mentioned facts that I put in, with those pre-mentioned hypotheses that I just threw out there.
Hypotheses, that's a big word for you.
That's a big word for Elmo. With those pre-mentioned hypotheses, big words, I know. Follow along with me, Cross. I don't know. I really don't know. I would like to see us go top 3. I think it's hard to argue that we're not going to be top 3. We still have raw talent on our team. I'd say we have one of the most in-depth rosters in the entire league. I see us sitting at 3 right now, preseason predictions. I see us sitting at 3. Do I think we could fall? Absolutely. It all just depends on how the people around us are going to play. I'm not worried about how we're playing. It's all about who around us plays.
Ian, what do you think?
So I made a standings predictions video, and a lot of people called it biased, but I think it's legitimately true. I think the Celtics can be the number 1 seed in the East. I think even with all of the additions that happened in the offseason and the hypotheses that Harry threw out there, using the big word of the day there. And even with all that, I still think the Celtics are the most talented team in the East, over everyone. The depth that this team has, they could run like a 9-man lineup if they need to during games, and everyone would still be able to contribute. So when it comes to the Celtics, I could easily see them being the number 1 seed in the East and winning probably 60 games. I could see them having a Phoenix Suns type season like they did last year. Hopefully it doesn't end the same way that the Phoenix Suns season ended last year, but at least in the regular season, I can see the Celtics just, going on a warpath and just just dominating the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and I honestly agree with you. I think they should be the 1 seed. I'm not even saying I think they are. I think they should be. If they're playing the way they should, if they keep the defense they played in the second half of the year last year, they'll be fine. And honestly, I'm not really worried about the coaching change. I think they'll be fine either way. Ime implemented a system that I think Joe's just going to continue. I don't think it's going to be totally different. A little bit different to integrate the new guys, but I mean, if they can tread water until Robert Williams comes back and they still do well, which I think they should be able to, I think they'll be fine. I think they should be the 1, 2, or 3 seed, but I think they definitely should be number 1. And I mean, you're going to see big steps up from Hauser, hopefully, and you got the additions of Brogdon, and you have Derek White coming back for a full season with the Celtics. Even Vonleh looked good in the preseason. I mean, you may see him step up at some big man roles while Rob Will's out, or even Blake Griffin. You might see him in. I mean, it's tough. Gallinari going down, Rob Will having that surgery, but I mean, he still got Jason Tatum. He's a top 10 player in the NBA, even maybe top 7. So I mean, he's probably going to be in that MVP race. Jaylen Brown's looking great. Jaylen Brown should be an all-star. I mean, and maybe even on some kind of all-NBA team. So you should be seeing some steps out of some guys. I mean, Peyton Pritchard, I mean, as he's kind of losing his role due to the amount of guards we have on our team. But I mean, if he can come in and knock down shots, they'll be important. And even Smart, I feel like, is all bought in and he's ready to go and he's motivated. I think they're all motivated from losing the finals last year. And I mean, Grant Williams didn't get to an extension that motivates him to play really well, to get paid. So I don't know. We'll see. Aiden, what are you thinking? What's your outlook on this team?
Yeah, I agree with that point, Cross, that we should be the number 1 seed, because if you think about it, the core of this team, which are the Jays, Marcus, Rob, we're bringing back everybody, and we're bringing in previously a 20-point per game scorer who's known for his playmaking in Brogdon. And I think people, while it is a big loss, I think people are just overhyping a little bit the impact of Gallinari, because it's not like he was putting up all-star numbers last season either, and we didn't have him last year. So it's kind of similar to the Hayward injury in the sense that you didn't have him to begin with. Like, what are you really losing? If you know what I mean? So I think that this team, you're bringing back a 50-win team. You made it better, and the East has gotten a lot better, as Harry said, but I still expect this team to compete for the number 1 seed. I think at worst we fall to 3, but I would say the most realistic one would be 1st or 2nd between us and the Bucks, assuming both teams stay healthy.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And just looking at the rest of the East, I know Harry brought it up with his hypotheses.
We're gonna do this all day.
Yep, pretty much. But I mean, Philly, yeah, they look dangerous. That's a team that I worry about, especially with the lack of center depth. I mean, the Nets, I don't think they have a complete roster. I am not too worried about them. We just swept them last year, and they really only added Ben Simmons. So am I worried? Not really. Milwaukee's always a dangerous team, but I think we can handle them. And then
With Chris Middleton?
Yeah, I think we can still handle them.
Middleton's still out for the start of the year too.
Yeah, and I think we're better now than even when we played in that series. Jaylen Brown was out for some of that series too. And
Rob Will was out the last.
Rob Will was out too.
Marcus Smart didn't play for a game either.
Yeah, exactly. Like, injuries happen, but like I'm worried about the Bucks, but I'm also like, I think we can compete. I'm not really worried about the Heat. I think we're good with that team. I think we've shown we can beat them. Cleveland, I think that's a mystery team for me. I think that's a hit or miss, that lineup. So I mean, I think we have to wait until we see, because I mean, we hyped up the Chicago Bulls team and they end up being meh. So I mean, you never know. That's what I'm saying. So with
I feel like my first statement was pretty loose. I didn't give a set number, and here's why. Do I think top 3? Potentially. I think we have a good chance. Do I think top 5? Absolutely. But here's the thing. If we go in the play-in tournament and get 8th seed, when we get to the playoffs, we are the number 1 seed. Seeding does not matter. When we get in playoff form, we are the number 1 seed. Does not matter what we come in at. Does not matter. It doesn't matter if we come in at 1. It doesn't matter if we come in at 7. We are the number 1 seed in the playoffs. And I think that goes for West Coast as well. We've seen a terrifying playoff Boston Celtics team. Absolutely terrifying. Through first round, second, and semis.
With a lot of injuries,
Boston Celtics. That's what I was just about to tag on. With consistent lineup injuries. There was never a single game. I think there was one single game where we had the entire roster healthy. And I'm talking like healthy. Like good to play.
We had a lot of mix-ups with the lineups.
I'm not worried about the regular season. I think the regular season is all just, it doesn't matter until you get into the second half. After All-Star Weekend, that's when things start getting real, because that's when games start getting heated, because this is when it's crunch time.
Mm-hmm.
If we're up like by 15 or higher regular, I think we're a top 3 team. I think we're a top 2 team. If we are up, go ahead.
Plus, I think, with depth is so important in the NBA, especially come playoff time when you need some sparks off the bench. And I think we kind of had it last year, but there was some holes, and I think you didn't have a strong bench scorer, and that's where a guy like Malcolm Brogdon comes in. I mean, and even guys like Hauser, if they can come in and knock down shots, I think that's huge for us. But yeah, Harry, sorry to cut you off.
No, so that's I'm glad you cut in, because that's kind of what I was saying. Earlier I said I strongly believe we have one of the best core teams in the entire league. I think the only team that can actually realistically rival that is the Golden State Warriors. With our bench depth, in which our overall starting lineup potential and power, we are, if not the scariest, one of the scariest teams in the league, hands down. And when it comes to playoff form and playoff potential, every single one of the guys on our team has playoff experience. Every single one. There's not a single shy player on our entire roster. Every single one of them can make plays, as we've seen our bench players do. I'm very, very excited for playoffs. It all depends on how we start. Biggest thing for me, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. For the Celtics, this is how you start. Starting strong is sending a message. Starting like last year, that's sending the wrong message.
Mm-hmm. I think you're going to make a statement this opening
Absolutely.
night.
Absolutely.
Go in there, beat the Sixers. Show you're still top dogs.
Show the coach doesn't matter. Show the coaching doesn't matter. Show the game plan doesn't matter.
Well,
show the team you're playing against doesn't matter. Here's the thing. Obviously, coaching matters. Obviously, game plan matters. Obviously, who you're playing matters. But walk in and walk on the court and show that it doesn't mean a goddamn thing to you. Doesn't matter who's coaching us. Doesn't matter who we're playing against, how we're going to line up against them, what position they're in, what defensive lineup you're looking at. If they're playing man-to-man, 3-2, they're playing zone. It does not matter. Show them you don't care how they're going to approach the game. You're going to approach it stronger, better, more confident. Confidence is the biggest thing that our team is lacking. If we pull up with some serious confidence and attitude in this starting game, we are going to send some messages across the entire league.
Definitely. It's going to be huge if the Celtics can come out on opening night and beat the 76ers, even without Robert Williams and even without, the depth at the center position. You can still go in, you can still beat, some people have the Sixers finishing number 1 in the East. So if you can beat, the, biggest, one of the biggest threats in the East right off the bat, if you go in and you smack them on your home court, it's sending the right message that they need to send, because that will show that they're taking this finals loss as hard as you can take it. And that's going to fuel them throughout the entire season.
Yeah, Aiden, sorry.
I was going to say, going back to what that kind of ties into what Cross said earlier about motivation. This is going to be a very motivated team for the finals loss, as Ian said, but also for the fact that
there should be no lack in motivation. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
people are doubting them because of with the new coach coming in, because I've seen some people that had them ranked first, some sports writers that now have them down to third or fourth just because of a coaching change. So I think that these players are going to be motivated. They got to show that, they're the same team that one of the greatest defenses of all time and that just ran their way through the East last playoff. So they should be out to prove something all season, and it starts with game one. Take it one game at a time.
One of the biggest things I've seen that really gives me encouragement that I feel like a lot of the great NBA teams of the past and great championship teams have is chemistry. I feel like they're all really good friends. They're all really good with each other. They all know where each other should be. Tatum and Brown are tight. They're locked in. Grant Williams is comedy. They all love him. They all joke with him. Like he's got his thing, and then it was very encouraging to also see. I know Ian, you went to this event, which I was pissed because I wanted to go. But you went to the Jaylen Brown pop-up shop where the players were there, and I saw a bunch of players were there other than Brown, like supporting him. That's huge. That's huge for a team. You got to have stuff like that. You got to have like players having each other's back, and like you can just look at the interview where Tatum and Brown, like they're asked like about a question about playing together and wanting to win, and they're like. And like one of them turned to the other and goes, "Do you want to win? I want to win." Like exactly. Like even if like they're competing for top dog status, they want to win. They want to play together. Like they don't care. They just if they're winning, they're happy. And I think coming out tomorrow would send a huge statement to the league. And yeah, so that's just my outlook on the season.
Especially with tomorrow, I think a huge thing that a lot of people don't really pay attention to until it starts. Who here has been to a Celtics game? All of us, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously.
Who here has been to a packed, absolutely packed, nighttime Sixers versus Celtics TD Garden?
I don't think
I haven't, but I'm going.
Yeah, Ian will be there.
I'll be there tomorrow.
Am I the only one who's seen a home game against the Sixers?
I don't think
I haven't seen a home game versus the Sixers. I've seen a
I've
home
been to a
game versus
Lakers
the
one.
Nets, but that's it.
I've been to a Nets one and I've been to a Lakers one. And then Ian, what was the one we were at? It was the Spurs one, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I went to the Nets and the Bucks, so that's probably the biggest rivalry games I've seen.
But I've seen them play the Lakers. I was actually at Kobe's last game at the Garden. That was crazy.
Let me tell you the one thing that makes a huge difference when you're actually on that court, how much the fans hate you. Now, if you are a Boston Celtics fan, you despise Joel Embiid. Maybe not as a person, but when he's on the court,
bearable. I will say
I know.
He's gotten more bearable lately.
Oh yeah. But when he's on the court and you're rooting for the Celtics, watching him play, hearing Ian, you're going to be there tomorrow. I want you to get back to me on how goddamn loud those fans are.
Wait, playing for our former coach, by the way. Playing for our former
for Doc Rivers.
Every single time Joel Embiid touches the ball, I want you to let me know just how goddamn loud that crowd gets, because it is something insane. Now, biggest thing about fan bases, what gets a fan more excited than any other aspect of a game? Potential to win. We made it to the finals last year. We are looked at from our perspective as one of the scariest teams in the league and one of the best shots to win it all. When we come out there and have a large mindset thinking we're going to win, and we're already assholes, we all think we're the best. When we come out there, especially after a monster season, monster playoffs as last year, oh my God, I'm excited to hear that goddamn crowd. I am so excited to hear that crowd.
And that is going to play, mindset.
Oh man.
That is going to play huge into how the game flows.
Got to have that large mindset.
Oh yeah. Honestly, I won't even lie. This is probably the most excited I've been to go to a Celtics game. I've been to a bunch of Celtics games over the last few years, and even before that I went to a couple, but this is probably the one where I'm the most excited for, because this is the team. This is the team that's going, supposed to run the East. This is the team that's going to be nonstop. And if they come out there and they just beat the brakes off the 76ers, I mean, not only is the crowd going to go wild, I mean, it's going to be, everyone's going to be on notice. And I really don't think, I remember I keep making like the comparison to the Suns last year, where like not only were the Suns, they basically ran the West last year, they won 64 games, but no one really took them seriously as contenders, even when they made the finals the year before. But I think the Celtics team is different. They are a lot more talented. And, not only that, they have probably the biggest motivation to want to win the finals and go back to the finals. And like you say, the home crowd in Boston is different than any other home crowd in the NBA. The home crowd in Boston can sway. It can sway a game at times by how loud. Even going to the Nets game last year with, this is the first time I think I've seen Kyrie back in the Garden, and the hatred that they still have for Kyrie is nuts. So anytime you touch the ball, it would just be insanely loud. I can't even imagine how loud it's going to be when Embiid touches the ball tomorrow. I'm so excited.
You remember?
Garden is going to
last
be
year?
rocking.
Do you remember it last year? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Game 6 of the Heat series in their home court. So we were away. Was that Game 6 or Game 5 where we were blowing them out?
I think it was Game 5.
Okay. Game 5. End of the game. We are up by like 15, 20, and you just see all the Heat fans walking away. What did you see behind the entire bench of the Heat team? A thick row of Celtics jerseys. All you saw was
everyone moving up.
Oh yeah, everyone was moving up.
All you saw was green and white in an entire red and black stadium. And that is what Boston fans do to a court. That is what Boston fans do to a game. Their intensity rises everywhere they go.
There was some game last year during the
because
playoffs where they're like, there's so many Celtics jerseys here, it's basically a home game. Can't remember which series it was.
I think it probably was Miami because Miami fans really don't show up. I mean, they won't show up till like, the middle of the second quarter, basically, because I don't know, there's other things to do in Miami than watching a team in the playoffs. So I mean, I've seen Celtics just take over.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I talked about it earlier. I went to that Patriots-Panthers game in Charlotte. There were an astonishing amount of Patriots jerseys in that stadium. I'd literally say it was probably 50-50, and I'm right behind the goalpost, about 7 rows back. I had an entire section. My entire row, the row behind me, the row to the front right, and the front line, all Patriots jerseys. And when everybody was leaving, what do you think I was doing? Hey, good game. Reaching out to every single fan walking past in the middle of the fourth quarter, and we're up by a large margin. They're all leaving. We are pissing them off. We're pissing the players on the field off. We're pissing everybody off, getting in their heads just like a good masshole does. And that's what you bring when it's a home game in TD Garden against one of the most hated teams from our perspective, purely because of the players on that team. We hate James Harden. We hate Joel Embiid. We really hate Joel Embiid. And I am pumped to see how they affect the game and how that rises among our players. Because, oh my God, if there's one thing I know that Jason Tatum loves, it's hitting a good shot, getting a good look, doing something flashy, turning around and seeing the crowd go fucking crazy. I am so excited to see how those goddamn fans interact with those goddamn players all in one sitting as the 76ers are left there for a whole hour just sitting there waiting for it to end.
Yeah, they got to come out.
One more thing I got. I went to both of the preseason games last year or this year. The one against Charlotte and the one against Toronto. You would have thought that it was a regular season game or a playoff game as to how loud the stadium got in a preseason game.
Yes.
When we blew out the Hornets by 40. And it was absolutely insane how loud it got in a preseason game. I honestly, I can't even hold in how excited I am to be going to this game tomorrow. This is the first time I'll be going to an opening night game for the Celtics, like at home, and it's probably going to be the best game I think I'm going to be able to see.
Here's the thing, right? You watch the Clippers win by 20, win by 30. They're up 35 in the fourth. Is their crowd like jumping out of their seats the whole goddamn time? No, they're sitting back relaxing because they know they won the game. Us, we're up by 20. We're up by 16 with 8 minutes left in the fourth. And we're going nuts. We're up by 40. The stadium's falling apart. That is what I love about being a Boston fan, because it's the culture around the sport is what really makes watching the games enjoyable, because you see it affect the players. You watch it unfold, and you hear the announcers talking about it the whole time. Stan Van Gundy and Jeff Van Gundy hate us. Absolutely.
I hate both of them.
I
They're
hate
both
them.
terrible.
I hate them.
They're both
hate
god
us,
awful.
and all they can talk about is how much we as fans suck because of how goddamn loud and rude we are to those players.
In the playoffs,
in
the playoffs, I miss Scal and Mike so much.
Oh my god! When they got to do the first round, I was so happy. I didn't even watch it on ESPN. I just watched it on NBC Sports Boston because I knew for a fact I couldn't stand listening to them.
I very rarely watch the national broadcast when I have a chance to watch NBC Sports Boston.
You see,
the Celtics have like 30 primetime games.
Honestly, mostly for Mike though. I'm not completely sold on Scal. I think it's more just because I miss Tommy, but I do like Scal. It's just I loved Mike and Tommy. They were great. But let's switch over from the fans in the arena to let's look. I just want to highlight a couple players and just see what your thoughts on what their role might be. Actually, before I do that, I want to give my little spiel on Horford that I've been giving to everyone that asked me throughout the day. I think Horford, you got to watch his minutes. I know, like tomorrow night, he's going to have to play big against Horford, but you got to watch his minutes in this first half of the season. You don't want to burn him out so he's not ready to go. You got to really work him in and out. Just because, I mean, before last year, he had a whole year off, so he was fresh and ready to go. And he played a lot. He had to play a lot of minutes last year, so I think you got to be careful with him. All right, moving on. I want to talk about Sam Hauser. I mean, what do we think his role is going to be? Do you think he's going to be able to carve out a shooting role? What do you think? Ian, we'll start with you. Start with the guest.
I think for right now, because of the injury to Robert Williams, Sam Hauser is going to get more minutes than I think he normally would if Rob was there. I think my thing with Sam Hauser is that I'm just hoping that it wasn't just a fluke in the preseason, because we've seen players, at least last year. I remember Romeo Langford had an insane preseason last year, and he ended up just not working out at all and ended up getting traded. So I think Sam Hauser has the potential to legitimately be, kind of like a Duncan Robinson type player for the Celtics, where, if you need a guy to hit a shot, Sam Hauser is going to be the automatic guy. I'm just hoping that he can adjust to more minutes, because the last couple preseason games, he was a little cold shooting, but I think Sam Hauser can, carve out a role for himself where even if it's like just 10 minutes a night, he can come in, just be a spark plug off the bench and hit some huge shots. That's what I'm hoping for with Sam Hauser.
Ian, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so I think, yes, you have to be very cautious looking at the preseason, because Aaron Nesmith had some huge games last year too, between the preseason and the G League, and he just really didn't work out here. But I think that if Hauser can keep up with the minutes, as Ian said, and he keeps his efficiency at what it has been this early in the preseason with the more minutes, he could definitely carve out a role, because especially with Gallo being out, it's the one piece you could argue the Celtics are missing, which is a knockdown shooter. And if Hauser can hit over 40% of his threes on a decent amount of shots per night, that could be huge, not just coming off the bench as spark plug, but you could also play him alongside the Jays to help out with their spacing, open the lane up for JB and his straight line drives, Tatum with his Euro steps. And that also would open up when he returns the Rob Williams lob game, the defense commits. So Hauser could be the real key to making this team not only a defensive, but also an offensive juggernaut.
So the part I'm worried about Hauser is his defense. If he can step up and play good defense and not be a defensive liability, he'll probably carve out a role, because he's proved he can shoot. And
I mean, we also do have a good defense around him, Cross. We could throw him out there with 4 other.
but
plus
one guy, he could just get targeted. You want to keep a strong defense across the board, and he's not going to get minutes unless he. But going back to that, I watched him in the preseason, and he looked like he'd been working on his defense. Defense looked pretty good. He looked like he was holding his own out there, which if he can just hold his own, he'll be fine. And I think he can shoot the ball. Well, I mean, he'll definitely see some minutes just if we need some shots. But I'm really encouraged because I think he's actually going to take that role. I know Aiden mentioned Aaron Neesmith. I think he's going to take the role we expected Aaron Neesmith to fit into, which is come in, hit shots off the bench. So, I mean, if he can do what Gallinari also was supposed to do and come in and hit shots, he'll find his rhythm. Harry, looking at a guy like Sam Hauser, where are your concerns? We'll say.
So, Cross, I agree a lot. Looking at a lot of big-time offensive players, like you look at like Colin Sexton, showing great offensive capabilities. You look at Joe Ingles, he's a great shooter. You look at Joe Harris, he's one of the best shooters in the league. Problem with all those guys is they lack one large thing, and it's being able to play the perimeter ball. If you line yourself up as a perimeter shooter and a perimeter offensive player, you need to be very well equipped to guard perimeter players. Because how many times are they going to put a big man on somebody shooting lights out from 3? They're not. They're not going to put their lockdown centers. They're not going to put their great defensive players on just shooters. What they're going to do is they're going to line up somebody who is fast, quick, and keep up and just stay in touch, 2-to-2, toe-to-toe with the perimeter shooter. They're not going to give them that opportunity. With that being said, flip the script. Can he keep up? That's where the big thing is going to underlie. I think he'll still be able to perform. I think his offensive capabilities have shown, and I think he's a great shooter. Will he keep up?
Honestly, I think it's going to be huge on matchups for him. It's going to be depending on who we're playing, who the other team's playing at the time. So that's where I see. Next guy I want to talk about is a couple of the bottom guys that made the end of the roster. Noah Vonleh and Justin Jackson. My guess is
just skip me. I don't know them.
All right, my guess is Justin Jackson's probably going to swing. If I had to guess, I don't think he's going to get too much time. But I think in the beginning of the season, Vonleh may find himself having to play some minutes. And honestly, based on he was very aggressive rebounding and playing pretty good defense in the preseason. I know Ian, you were at a couple of the games. What do you think? Do you think Vonleh can kind of step up in Rob Will's absence?
I think it's not a case of if, I think it's when, because I mean, he didn't get a whole lot of time in the preseason with the starters. And that was a little bit concerning to me because I feel like he's our best center option off the bench right now. I mean, I like Luke Cornett, but I really, at least if you have to face guys like Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo, those kind of guys in the East, I don't feel that 100% confident with Luke Cornett as kind of our backup center at the moment. And, I would like to see what Noah Vonleh can do. I mean, he was an aggressive rebounder in the preseason. I think he can be a pretty solid shot blocker. And honestly, as long as he's not just like a cone on defense, I think the Celtics could really use him because I think they're going to need him for the absence of Robert Williams for now, because he is an athletic center. And, as much as I like Luke Cornett and Blake Griffin and, I just don't think those guys are the defensive center that you kind of need. And rebounding was a huge problem in the preseason. Al Horford was never really the best rebounder anyway. So the fact that you have a guy who basically led the preseason in rebounding on your bench, I think you need to play Noah Vonleh even just a little bit. I think you desperately need him because rebounding could be a problem without Robert Williams.
I wish they signed Dwight Howard personally.
I mean, I think my thing with Dwight Howard is that, he is getting older, and granted, we signed Blake Griffin, so that's not really much of an excuse. I think Dwight maybe could have done things, but I don't think he was as good as he, was over the last few years.
I just think as some
last year. So
yeah.
Aiden, any thoughts on Vonleh?
Yeah, so I agree with you guys in that Jackson's not going to get much time. I don't think. I think the Jays are going to be playing minutes with Rob out. So if Jackson does get time, maybe on an occasional nick where the Celtics don't want to run Tatum out there for a game that they think they can handle, he might get some minutes. But yeah, I think Vonleh's going to have to play some big minutes, open the season, especially if we get guys like Horford gets in foul trouble or Griffin's not producing. Like Vonleh, you got to play him because our whole team, our whole offense kind of revolves around, sprinting out in fast breaks, getting open, getting guys cutting. And that all starts with the rebound on the defensive end. So if we're giving up second chance points, it doesn't give us the chance to get out and run. And that's really where our guys excel, Smart making the right play, the Jays getting open shots, dishing to teammates. So it's really important for Vonleh to be out there and giving us plus minutes, because if we're not getting the rebounds as we saw in the preseason, it's going to be tough to win these games. We're going to blow games like we did at the beginning of last year. So yeah, he's got some important minutes to play this season.
All right. Just real quick to wrap it up. Jason Tatum, are we thinking? What are the odds? What do you think the odds are do you think he has the potential to win MVP this year? Harry, we're gonna get your opinion on this too, so come sit down. Aiden, we'll let you go first. Yes or no? Can Jason Tatum win MVP this season?
I think he could win MVP, but the key for that to happen is he has to have a strong start. I feel like every season with Tatum, it's kind of the same story where he starts off slow. People question if he's lost something's going on, if he's hurt off the court. But then we get to the second half of the season after the All-Star game, and he turns it on, averages 30 plus points. And everyone's like, oh, going into the playoffs, this is the Tatum we all know. So I think for him to win MVP, it has to be a full season of excellence on his end. It can't just be for half a season. But I think if he can average around 30 points for the season, leads the Celtics to the 1 seed, I don't see why he couldn't win MVP.
Yeah. All right, Harry, yes or no? Jason Tatum chance at MVP this season?
No. I'll tell you why. Look at the last few MVPs. All of them are, without shadow of the doubt, the best player on their team, hands down. That's granted. Jason Tatum is the best player on our team. But we also have like 4 or 5 other players that are all really good, 3 of which I consider all-star potential players, that being Rob Williams, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown. I don't think he has a shot at all. With the depth that our team has and how much we're going to be moving the ball exactly, I think he'll have good nights. I think he'll have great nights. But I think he's bound to be a 24, 25 points per game player. At best, maybe topping out 26.5. I will say he will not be an MVP this year. Though, mark my freaking words. I censored myself there. Be proud of me, Cross. Mark my freaking words. John Morant's getting MVP this season.
I'm gonna agree. I'm just gonna skip over that. I'm gonna agree with the point where he says that MVPs have kind of gone away from teams or players with other pretty good players on their team. I think they have gone to more individual performances versus team impact, which I'm hoping it goes back to more impact to the team, because I think you should get rewarded for doing well and having a good team around you. But I think for him to win MVP, I think there's definitely a chance. I think he could do it. And I think he's primed to do it this year. I think he's got to average 27-ish, 28 points per game, put up probably 7 or 8 rebounds a game. He's got to get involved there, and probably, like, I would say 4 or 5 assists. I think he's got to really get in there, maybe a steal or 2. Like, he's got to really load up the stat line, and to really give himself a chance against guys like Jokic, who are putting up triple doubles nightly, 30 points a game. Guys like Embiid, who are putting up 30 points a game because they force it to him every time. Like, guys like Ja Morant who like carry their teams to like stuff like so. That's where I think those are where his numbers have to be, and I think that has to happen, and I think the Celtics have to be a top 3 seed. So, but Ian, let's hear from you. I mean, you're our guest. Let's see what you think. And Jason Tatum MVP.
Yeah, so at least for the last few years, the MVP is somewhat narrative based. Right now, it doesn't seem like Jason Tatum has the narrative on his side, at least as of right now. Obviously, that can change over time. We've seen how fast, MVP narratives can change throughout a season. I don't, as much as you think it is, where, they just come off a finals loss, they just added guys, there should be the most talented team in the Eastern Conference. I don't know if Tatum has the narrative on his side right now to be the MVP just because of how he played in the finals, which I really don't think should be indicative of how he is as a player. But, it's a what have you done for me lately type of league. And the last time we saw Tatum, it wasn't his best performance. So I think right now the narrative's not on his side. I think I agree with you, Cross, if he can get up to maybe 27, 28 points a game, and he is leading the Celtics to, the number 1 seed in the East, maybe. And I think it all kind of has to come together all at once. And if Jason Tatum can, get all the right variables together all at once, I think he could win MVP this season. I think he'll win at least one MVP by the end of his career. It just depends on, if he can make the next leap from, him being regarded as like a top, 7 to 9 player in the league to being a top, 5 player in the league. I think that's going to be the real test to see if Tatum really is going to be an MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty good outlook on the Celtics season. I'm excited. I know everyone's excited. Just as a big Celtics guy, I think like this is all you can ask for going into a season with finals hopes. I mean, at least we're not like Spurs fans or Thunder fans right now. I mean,
or Jazz fans.
Yeah, exactly.
The Jazz don't even have cool jerseys to fall back on.
I know, right? And you mentioned jerseys. The new City Edition jersey is sick. I know, Ian, you want
those are
one.
so nice.
I gotta get myself one.
I
might customize one so it has Bill Russell on it. I mean, it's
that
a Bill Russell
sick.
jersey. You got to get Bill Russell on it. So, but that's all we got.
Wait, before we cut it, I think I don't think we have MVP in our sights. I think the most likely trophy we're going to get this year is 6-man.
Oh, Brogdon. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one.
I think a Brogdon 6-man is very likely.
I think if Rob Will comes back,
maybe?
Rob Williams, I think if he's out too long, he won't be able to have a chance. But if he's back in like November, December and has a great defensive season, we'll see. But that's all we got for you guys. Thank you, Ian, for hopping on with us. Nice to have a celebrity in our midst. Harry's a bit frozen right now, but yeah, we're gonna. That was yeah. Anyway, he's back, and we're very excited for the Celtics season and be able to produce more Celtics content for you. I'm sure Ian will return to the show soon. Hopefully we didn't scare him off. But we'll see you next time. Thanks everyone.
Wait, one thing.
Oh,
Harry,
yeah.
how's Daniel Tice doing?
Dude, Daniel Thomas is a beast this year, dude. He's gonna go crazy.
What a terrible funny moment.
I love it so much.
All right, everyone, go check out our Instagram at @offbeat_sports. Check out our TikTok at offbeat sports, and we'll see you next time on Offbeat Sports.